So you may hear some noise from the outside of my apartment. If so, I apologize for that. I cannot control it, but I will give a big shout out to the guy who is cleaning our compost bins with a very powerful hose and replacing everything in that. So yeah, they kind of need to do their jobs, right? But either way, all background noise aside, I wanted to go over and talk about two apparent trades that were rejected with the LA Kings, because while we did already talk about one of these ideas briefly in a video a few weeks ago, the other one was more of a new thing, and I didn't see this up until today, which is why I wanted to explore this particular topic once more. So, today we are talking about the LA Kings and their potential trade scenarios that might have went down with the Boston Bruins as well as the Calgary Flames. Now, you know from the title, you know from the thumbnail, it's all up in there, but to help us out with these ideas, we're going over onto Nick Kypreos' column from earlier on the 14th, so about a week ago. Here's Kypreos' post-trade deadline piece, Why Nick Robertson's ill-advised comments come at the wrong time for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, of course, you're looking at this saying, wait a minute, firstly, this article does not seem to appear to have anything to do with the teams we were talking about, and secondly, Lego, did you not already use this article in a video? Yeah, I did. Yesterday, there was a comment made on Cody Hodgson that in which we took and decided to make a video about that, because, hey, the idea of Hodgson coming back to the NHL, I like it a lot, but either way, if you scroll down in this Nick Robertson Toronto Maple Leafs piece into the Kipper's Corner part of the article, you end up seeing a thought that says this. Kypreos writes that it's interesting to see that both Jacob Markstrom of the Calgary Flames and Linus Ullmark of the Bruins would not waive their no-trade clauses to join the LA Kings for their playoff drive, with Markstrom having no interest being on the West Coast and Ullmark believing Boston has a better chance to win a cup than the Kings. I ask, where has LA's Tinseltown magic to draw players gone? And you know, that's a very interesting question. Mostly because when you think about players wanting to go to LA, I think the biggest example that everybody will default to right off the bat is Pierre-Luc Dubois from last year. That was a really big conversation. Oh, this Winnipeg Jets center is only going to go to Montreal, and if it's not Montreal, he's going to wait for Montreal. It's always going to be Montreal, right? Everybody thought the Habs were going to be the destination, but eventually, at the last second, Dubois was like, okay, fine. If it's not going to be Montreal, LA's okay too. Send me over there. I'm gonna chill out in the SoCal weather, maybe get a place in the San Bernardino Valley. Big change from Winnipeg, right? Yeah, let's go to Hollywood, baby. And then Pierre-Luc Dubois, unfortunately, did not really do all too well. He's not doing well. In his first season, it's already been labeled by most people as disappointing, but to hear that there were two other offers extended out to opposite goaltenders and they both said no, that in and of itself is pretty interesting. Now, when it comes to the Boston conversation, we already talked about Linus Ullmark in a video a few weeks ago. This went over the thought process of Ullmark potentially getting traded for Dubois because there were rumors saying that the Bruins wanted a center, and if Ullmark was the guy that the LA Kings were targeting, then maybe this would have been the rejected trade from the trade deadline period. But also, hearing that Jacob Markstrom of the Calgary Flames said no too, that kind of gets me a little bit interested. Mostly because, when it comes to the marquee trade conversations, everybody will remember the New Jersey talks that had happened and that apparently got super far, but fell apart at the last second because the New Jersey Devils did not want to get Markstrom at his full $6 million AAV salary per season till the end of 2026. Even though the reports were that Markstrom himself already accepted the trade, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. Hey, this guy's already giving you the go-ahead. He waived his no-move clause to go to New Jersey, and you're not going to be able to get the deal done? What's going on with that? And then things got even crazier when the New Jersey Devils acquiesced and they were like, okay, no, instead of getting Markstrom with 50%, we'll take Markstrom on at the full salary. Okay, we want him really bad, so let's just do that. And then the Flames were like, no, sorry, we're starting to win games now, so we're just going to keep Marky around. You can go ahead and try to get a goalie elsewhere. And the Devils did. They got Jake Allen, and he's doing pretty well nowadays. But either way, Markstrom was on the market for a considerable amount of time this year. And hearing in particular that he said no and rejected a trade over to LA because he wants to go to the East, that does kind of get me intrigued as to why that is. Firstly, LA itself is a great place to play in, and the team, I mean, they're better than the New Jersey Devils this season, right? At least common consensus would have you believe that. So, if you're talking about these trade ideas from the perspective of making the playoffs and being more competitive, okay, maybe it was probably a better idea for Markstrom to accept a trade to LA rather than New Jersey, but then again, he wants to be on that East Coast rather than the Pacific Division. Who knows if that's because of the rivalries between LA and all the other Pacific teams, or if it's simply, hey, he wants to be closer to home, literally. We had seen this conversation happen with Linus Ullmark too, that apparently he wanted to be in the Eastern time zone, so it's a little bit easier to communicate with his folks rather than going over to the West, where everything is 3 hours behind. So, who knows, man? Like, these Swedish goaltenders, Ullmark and Markstrom, they may have themselves pretty similar values or thought processes in that respect, and maybe that's why LA just isn't a preferred destination geography-wise. Even though LA is LA, you know, it's Hollywood, baby, everybody likes LA. If it's plain and simple just inconvenient for you and the way you're managing your family, then okay, I can understand that. Shifting back over to Linus Ullmark, it also makes sense that he would want to reject a trade to LA because the Boston Bruins are just straight up a better team. Like, if he wants to win a Stanley Cup, which, I mean, every player wants to win a Stanley Cup, right? Even if you are in a backup position, Linus Ullmark has a much better chance at doing that with the Boston Bruins this season than the LA Kings, even though his contract is expiring next year, even though he isn't really projected to being a starter guaranteed as the year goes on. I mean, if the Stanley Cup playoffs happen and then the Bruins go to the finals and then, let's say, Boston wins again, 13 years after they'd won in 2011, there's no guarantee that Ullmark is the number one guy. Like, Jeremy Swayman has been as good, if not better than Ullmark, the past year and a bit, so there certainly is a competition there, but there's more reason to believe in the Bruins this season than there is in the Kings. Plus the entire factor of the time zone difference, okay, that makes sense for Ullmark. I'm just super surprised that it also applies to Calgary and Jacob Markstrom here as well. So, going back over to Nick Kypreos' piece, he asks the question, where has LA's magic gone when it comes to being able to recruit players? Why do players not want to go to this team? And honestly, you know, he asked it rhetorically in the article, but I think realistically, if you want to talk about direction and you want to talk about aging, it's a little bit difficult to project where the LA Kings are going to go as their years go on, because of course they do have some great young talented pieces. I love Alex Turcotte, Quinton Byfield is amazing, Kevin Fiala is still young enough, but a lot of their better guys are on the older side. Drew Doughty, Kopitar, you could even say Philippe Deneau. Where exactly is this team going to go? Now that you have Pierre-Luc Dubois too, who hasn't really been showing off all too well, is there a sustainable and projectable direction for the LA Kings heading into the next few years? You can't just bank on all your prospects becoming good and translating to the NHL 100% because that's kind of a fool's strategy. But with the assets you have right now, a lot of them are older, and when you think about the goaltenders, I mean, even Cam Talbot, he's a dinosaur in his own right. So if the LA Kings were targeting a goaltender to potentially take them beyond this season, okay, Ullmark, Markstrom, they make sense. But for both of these guys to reject trades over to the LA Kings, I do find that interesting, and I think Kypreos brings up a great point in asking where exactly has the desire to go and play in LA gone. So if you're a Kings fan, a Calgary Flames fan, or a Boston Bruins fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Markstrom and Ullmark both rejecting trades to go over to the Kings. Is this surprising in your mind? If there was a trade that went down, what do you think the price should have been? What do you think is fair value for each of these guys? Markstrom is a lot older than Ullmark. He's 34. Ullmark is 30. But both of these guys do have contracts that extend beyond this season at pretty reasonable dollar amounts if they're still able to be some of the best goaltenders in the world. So thoughts in the comment section below about Marky Mark and Ullmark rejecting trades to LA. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.